I always enjoy requests from the different followers of the channel, but this is an indirect request. My good pal Derek Hamilton, the West Coast based Renaissance man, he's done everything from acting, stunt work, boxing, a championship boxing boxer himself in his career, tough man champion. Posted a photo on his Facebook the other day of the greatest live gate, boxing gate of its time. The infamous Carpentier Jack Dempsey fight from 1921 will be the 100th anniversary later on this year. But Derek noted that the fact was he had an amazing career. It was an amazing event, and taking on Jack Dempsey at the height of his prime was a great challenge for our European multi-time champion. Now, Carpentier is best described as the Renaissance man of his generation. Now, Carpentier spent most of his career fighting in multiple divisions. Now, born January 12, 1894 in Livy, France, spent time in numerous divisions, including the lower weights, bantamweight and featherweight, but was well known for his top flight career in welterweight, middleweight, light heavyweight, where he was world champion, and heavyweight, where he was something called the white heavyweight champion of the world. We're going to get into that in a little bit, all about the Jack Johnson category. Fought for 18 years. Again, mainly as light heavyweight, 175. Did fight at heavyweight, but at most he was probably 181, 180, kind of cruiserweight. He fought for 18 years from 1908 to 1926. Now, he was nicknamed the Orchard Man by the press because of his stylish way with his looks and inside the ring. At 5'11" and a half inches tall, he was the perfect size and height for his style. A very, very kind of modern, body contact, heavy jab, heavy shots, and for 147 to 175, a very active fighter in all those divisions. Now, again, the speed game was his best attribute, with excellent boxing skills and an extremely hard punch, which you needed to back then, because a lot of light heavyweights and heavyweights in that kind of 10 to 15 year era from his prime at about 1918 when he got out of the Air Force in France, where he was a hero, to again the Dempsey fight in the post Dempsey years. Now the Epitaph Sports Arena, Halle Georges Carpentier, is named after him. Now, again, he began his career by progressing up to weight divisions, fighting in every division from welterweight upwards, although he also had some success in featherweight and bantamweight before moving up to 147 plus. Now, after making his first professional boxing bout at age 15, he was welterweight champion of France and of Europe in 1911, middleweight champion of Europe in 1912, and light heavyweight champion of Europe in 1913. Now, on June 1st, 1913, he defeated Bombardier Billy Wells in Ghent, Belgium, to become the heavyweight champion of Europe, or what was known back then as EBU. He defended his title in December that year against Wells, and in January 1914 against Pat O'Keefe, and in London on July 16th, he bet Ed Gunboat Smith to add the white heavyweight champion of the world to his European title, because at the time Jack Johnson held the belt, there was various promoters that wanted a white champion of the world, which led to Jeffries taking on Johnson later on, and of course everyone knows what happened in that fight. Johnson destroyed him. Now, the white heavyweight title bout sported a purse worth £9,000 sterling, which is equivalent to approximately $1.2 million in 2021 money. Now, Carpentier was also a respected referee during the early stages of his career, supervising a number of fights, including the world title bout between Johnson and the top 10 contender Frank Morin in June 1914. Now, upon World War I, he became a French Air Force aviator and was awarded two of the highest French military honors, le Croix de Guerre and the Médaille Militaire. This served to heighten his already exceptional popularity, not only in France, but eventually the United States and England as well. Now, Carpentier defended his title twice again in 1919 before dropping down a weight class to challenge battling Levinsky for the light heavyweight championship of the world. The fight took place on October 12, 1920 in Jersey City, and Levinsky, a very tough nut, was knocked out in the fourth round. Now, Carpentier's attempt at the heavyweight championship of the world came on July 2nd, 1921, again in Jersey City, where he faced Jack Dempsey in front of boxing's first $1 million gate. Now, $1 million plus with ticket sales, which would be approximately $14 to $17 million in 2021 numbers. Now, Carpentier was badly beaten around before suffering a knockout in the second minute of the fourth round. If you look at the video, it could be the weight difference he was giving up, because I think Dempsey had weighed him for at least 20 pounds. And the fact the heat and the stress of the fight, I think, got to him. Now, Carpentier never fought again for the title. He eventually lost his world heavyweight title and his European heavyweight title and light heavyweight titles the following year on September 24, 22 in a controversial bout with Senegalese fighter battling Siki. His last truly noteworthy fight was on July 24, 1924 with Gene Tunney at the Polo Grounds in Manhattan. He lost the bout by TKO after a tough 15 rounds. He retired from the ring after a final exhibition bout in 1927. Now, following his retirement of boxing, he spent a number of years as a vaudeville song and dance man, mostly in England and the U.S. He's also the author of a boxing novel, Brothers of the Brown Owl, A Story of the Boxing Ring, which was published in 1920 by Castle and Company, which was a volume in the uniform Castle's Empire Library. He also appeared in a half a dozen motion pictures, starring in both silent films and talkies. He made 3 films in Hollywood, including one for director J. Stuart Blackton in England and 2 in his native France. His last screen appearance was in 1934. Soon after, he became a proprietor of an upmarket bar, Chez Georges Carpentier, in a chic Paris neighborhood. In several different locations, this is the profession he would exercise until shortly before his death. From the time they boxed together in 1921, of course, Carpentier remained close friends with Jack Dempsey. They visited each other in New York and Paris, got together to commemorate the anniversary of their famous bout and exchanged birthday greetings. Now, the Carpentier-Dempsey fight, although the Jess Willard against Dempsey title where Dempsey won the crown, was almost important. You got to understand the war hero style and the classy style of Carpentier, kind of the light heavyweight champion, taking Dempsey to Manassa Mahler. It invigorated the nation because they were coming. It was before the Great Depression. Money was good in the 20s, the roaring 20s, and to see so many people show up. And boxing back then was akin to probably the most popular sport of its time. Although baseball was still a heavy draw, to be the heavyweight champion of the world and to be a challenger was a license to print money. But of course, when Tunney came along, Tunney changed it around. The heavyweight title became fractured with the era of Schmeling and Sharkey and Max Baer and Braddock and everything else until Joe Louis came along. But Carpentier, to say he was probably the second most recognized fighter of his era besides Dempsey is a great tribute to both, because for every Leonard you needed a Rand, for every Calor Zarate you're going to need a Zamora, for every Alexis Arguello you need an Aaron Pryor. So, you're only good as your opponent sometimes, or the person that's chasing you. Now, unfortunately, Carpentier died in Paris in 1975 of a heart attack, and was buried with honors in the Cimetière de Vieux-Souman on Saint-Amand in France. Now, he was eventually elected to the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1991, a little bit after its time, but well-deserving, of course. Now, his films included The Wonder Man, A Gypsy Cavalier, The Show of Shows, and Hold Everything. Now, in 112 fights, he had 89 wins, 15 losses, 57 victories by knockout, 29 by decision, 3 by disqualification, 6 draws, 1 no contests, and 1 newspaper decision draw. And besides Tunney, And Dempsey, he fought some of the best out there, like we had talked about before. He also took on the great Tommy Longren, Tommy Gibbons, a very respected fighter, Ted Kid Lewis, Joe Beckett, a very underrated fighter at the time, Gunboat Smith, the legendary American fighter, and Joe Jeanette, who was a strong black contender of the time of Jack Johnson, and Bombardier Billy Wells, which he won the inaugural IBU heavyweight title from, and of course he lost to Billy Papp for the world middleweight title. Now, he held a claim to the title for a short while, but unfortunately lost to Frank Klaus in a 19-round disqualification on his claim on the world middleweight title. So, and I think I know this sounds pretty weird, but if you look at his record, he fought more fighters that were called battling. So everybody was fighting, gave him a hard shot, no pun intended. So again, Georges Carpentier, thanks to my good friend Derek Hamilton for always helping me out with the podcast. This is dedicated to you, my brother. And all we like to say is that light heavyweight fighters at the time had great talent, but it wouldn't be much for somebody who would try to move up or move down, because between 160 and 185, an extra few sandwiches or putting on water weight could give you that extra. But fighting in that big Jersey City ring, if you see the photos on the YouTube, it was hot that day. And I think Carpentier had to be less than 160 pounds when the fight was over. Dempsey was more solid muscle, and that's what won him that fight. Anyway, that's the legend of Georges Carpentier. Thanks for listening. Bye.